Let's call it Aaron Snow. Mr.
Oh,
Snow? Mr. Snow?
yes. Hello.
Hello, how you doing? This is EJ Boxing Live here in the UK in London. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. How you doing, brother?
I'm fine, man. It's listen, it's great to have you over here, the UK. Obviously, we're live right now on my show. Mr. Snow, man, you have a illustrious career. Before obviously we're gonna talk about Jack Johnson and obviously your affiliations with the various boxers, Tim Witherspoon, Tim Austin, Mike Tyson, and so on. Give the people, the listeners, yeah, some sort of background of where you come from. I know you're good friends with Mr. Bashir, and I talk to Bashir a lot. From Pennsylvania, and how you got into boxing?
Well, it starts at humble beginnings in Pottsville, Pennsylvania, which is the foothills of the Pocono Mountains, and it's 92 miles outside of Philadelphia. And this coal region is produces some of the best coal in the world, anthracite coal. And this area where I'm from, the history of it was land, this area from William Penn from England. And my last name, Snowell, is an English name. I have my descents are from England. And how I got involved in boxing is that Muhammad Ali, when he first came up to this area, Deer Lake, Pennsylvania, my family, when we were young, we met him when he first got up there. And he came back in the room and he counted all his money. He said, "Man, y'all from the projects, you mean to tell me ain't none of my money missing? Y'all don't steal?" He said, "I want to meet y'all mother." So he came up there, he met my mother, and he said to my mother, "Look, you find the biggest house around here. I want to buy it for you and your family." And my mother said, "Hey, look, there's nothing my family did for you to buy us a house." And she told him the good Lord took care of us today, and He'll take care of us the rest of the way. And Ali couldn't believe it. So Ali allowed us to come to his training camp all the time, as he did many other people from that area. Ali was just that type of person. But however, he did put us
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. No, that's great. No, that's some serious obviously career like that. Ali and just the whole thing. I mean, that's amazing. And that's how you got into it. And see, imagine that your first encounter with boxing, Ali. I mean, that in itself is give us your take on the man, because a lot of people obviously got different perspective. Give us your perspective on Ali and what you think, and what do you think he meant to boxing, and also obviously African Americans.
Well, in boxing, you know, there's Jack Johnson was one of a kind. Ali, Muhammad used to let fighters train up in his training camp for nothing. And Saad Muhammad was up in the training camp getting ready for John Conte, an English fighter. And Tim Witherspoon was an amateur at the time, training with Matthew Saad Muhammad at Ali's camp. And that's when I met Tim. And we became real close. You know, I couldn't fight because I was in a car accident. My whole family was when I was young.
Oh, okay.
I suffered a brain injury, and I couldn't walk for 10 days. So that's why I couldn't fight. But I enjoyed training. When I was young, I was around the best trainers in the game that ever did it. Including Angelo Dundee, who was Muhammad Ali's trainer, Boudini Brown. But Slim Robinson was a friend of the family. His brother's wife, Adafa, who's his brother, and his wife, my mother and his mother were the best of friends. And Slim's brother was, he was basically part of the family. And I met Slim Robinson when he came up there with Mike Rossman to Muhammad Ali's training camp. That's when our relationship started to build. But Slim Robinson was the one who taught me the fundamentals, along with Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali taught me a lot. At night, he used to give us private training sessions. For my family, it was amazing for him to take the time and patience like that to do that while he was training. It's something special and something I never forget. And a lot of the work that I do with young people to try to keep them motivated and in the right direction comes from those days around Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, excellent. I'm telling you, and you know what? Just the way you, obviously the to come into the game and you know Ali taking his time with you, and obviously Slim Robinson. I don't know too much about Slim Robinson. Can you give us a background on Slim Robinson as well, and give us information about him?
Well, Slim Robinson was Philadelphia. Slim Robinson was a great fighter himself. He fought as a middleweight, and he ended his career fighting light heavyweight Bob Foster as he moved up to the light heavyweight division. But everybody knew Slim as a good fighter. Back then, there was a lot of control with people who you fight and could fight, and good right hand punches, which Slim was. A lot of guys didn't want no parts of that. But Slim and Georgie Benton fought. Slim beat him as an amateur, and Georgie Benton beat him out of as a pro. He hit him and pushed him out of the ring, and Slim was arguing on the floor to Georgie, and while he was cussing that Georgie and arguing for pushing him out of the ring after he hit him, they counted Slim out down on the floor. But him and Slim remained good friends. And Georgie Benton too was a heck of a trainer. So, you know, Sam Solomon, who was Saad Muhammad's trainer. You know, I was around Sam Solomon. You name Eddie Futch. You name the best of them of that era, and fighters. You know, Muhammad Ali bring the best fighters of yesterday at his training camps, and then at his training camp in Deer Lake, he had rocks with all these great fighters: Kit Gavilan, Willie Pep. You know, all of these great fighters of different eras would come visit him. But Ali had all of these names on there, and Ali would talk about these guys.
Absolutely. I see the rocks on Mr. Bashir. Obviously Ali's passing. He went down to the cabin in Pennsylvania, and obviously I saw the rocks as well with Jack Johnson, Jack Dempsey, Joe Lewis, and all the rest of them. Yeah. And what did tell me? I'm an amateur coach as well. Yeah. Give me kind of tips what Ali taught you and what Slim Robinson kind of taught you, the fundamental things that you need in boxing to be successful.
Well, first of all, it all starts with a commitment. You have to be committed to what you're doing. And then number two, you have to have the respect and admiration for the people that are teaching you. And what happens is that nowadays is that most of the people are kids or things think when they come into the gym that they know more than the people that are there to teach them. And that's why the game has not progressed the way it should be progressing. And a lot of people don't take the time to learn the skill. Boxing is a true science. You have to know different styles of fighting. What's a boxer? What's a slugger? What's boxing on the dime? What's in and out? You know, different things like that, and what go along with those styles of fighting. You know, some guys can fight with their hands down. Some guys can't. Some guys fight with their hands up. You know, and you have to learn that, and you have to learn the offensive moves and the defensive moves that go along with those things. And then after that, the skill level, if the person don't have conditioning plays a major part, is because when they talk about a fighter having heart, yeah, you have to have the fire and desire, but if you don't have the conditioning in the heart, to put the oxygen that fires the muscle in there, aerobic training in there that's well conditioned to supply the heart. Here's how it goes. You know, sports training or boxing training is a complex procedure, and it happens in many ways. The brain sends a message to the muscle. And the muscle, the brain tells it how fast or how slow to react or contract that muscle. And that happens simultaneously. And practice improves that coordination. Okay? And the link in the system for coordination is your eyes. So once your message in your eyes, all of that's linked together. And when you have a heavy demand to tell your body to fire it, and how often and quick you want to do it. If you don't have the conditioning or aerobic training in the heart, you can't do it. I don't care how great of athleticism that you have. If you're not well conditioned, you can't do it. And then after that, then you get into other sciences. You know, then you get into many tricks of the trade. You know, you got to have offense, you got to have defense. And there's not a punch in boxing that you can throw that can't be countered. And then you learn how to counter the counter that comes off other different counters. These are the different sciences that go into the game. And then after that, there's feet work that, you know, that goes into that, all of that. So, you know, it's a science that is second to none.
Absolutely. Ali, give us, I know you're obviously Slim Robinson, but Ali, what did Ali specifically teach you? And I know everyone said Ali helped Larry Holmes develop his jab? Was it Ali developed the jab? Because these days, especially the kids these days, they don't have a good solid fundamental jab and the technique of throwing a jab properly, where the jab can get you in, get you where your target to throw your power shots and also get you out of trouble. Did Ali teach you that?
Well, yeah. Well, Ali taught me how that's a fundamental tool. The jab is the hardest thing in boxing to defend, because it comes straight. It comes straight at you. Second is a right hand, because that comes straight at you.
Yeah.
So when you master the jab as an offensive weapon and a defensive weapon, meaning the jab will help you find your distance. It'll help you find your range. It'll help you find your timing. And you use it you can use it as a defensive weapon when you're throwing it to bait somebody to throw a punch so you can counter it. Or you can stop a right hand, or you can use a jab to keep a guy off balance, and things like that. So all of these important tools that the jab is, Ali mastered it, and he used to like to have that bag sound when he throw it, and he would put so much speed and so much time and so much rhythm, as fast as you can say 1-2, which is a jab and a right hand. He would try to get it off that fast, and that's where the timing and stuff that I talked about in that. It makes guys it makes it hard for them to defend because of the rhythm of it. You know, your fast twitch fiber and your slow twitch fiber, one for speed and the other one endurance. And the practice of it helps those sciences in your body come together for competition. You can't practice slow and expect to be fast in competition. It don't work that way. If you practice slow and lethargically slow in practice, when you get ready for competition and try to do it, you burn out.
That's a very good point. Yeah, that's a very good point when you said that. That's a very good point, because I have the guys and the kids in the gym. I'm gonna use the stuff you're telling me today, and I'm gonna implement it in the gym today, because I got training later on. I'm 100%. I'll send you some clips of the outcome. But let's get into it now. So now, you gave the basis on yourself and obviously stuff you learned. Let's talk about Jack Johnson, because my first comment on Jack Johnson is over in the UK, obviously at Sky Sports, and they were showing some of his fights. And the first fight I saw of him was against, I believe it was Tommy Burns, and obviously the commentary. I think that was not Bill Caton. What was his name again? Is it Bill? I think it was Bill Caton. No, not Bill Caton. It was the other guy. It was the other guy with Mike Tyson. You know, it was Bill Caton and
Jim Jacobs.
Jim Jacobs. He was he done the commentary over the Tommy Burns fight, and obviously giving an intake and obviously on the outcome, and obviously how big Jack Johnson was and what he was doing. His nickname was the Ghost. But give us how obviously your information of Jack Johnson, and obviously going forward now, Jack Johnson finally getting his pardon. So that you go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, you first have to understand the history of Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson grew up in Galveston, Texas. Okay. His mother and father were slaves. And he grew up on this farm, and his mother used to babysit white children at the time. But Jack Johnson worked on, he did farm things, and that's a horse hand who he was working with as being mentored, basically taught him boxing when he was helping with the horses. However, move time up a bit, blacks had their own league in America because of segregation. Blacks and whites were separated, and even in sports. Okay, when John L. Sullivan won the heavyweight title, the first American to win the heavyweight championship, which was basically held in Britain, John L. Sullivan, when he won it, he said that he wasn't going to fight, plain and simple. He wasn't going to fight no niggers, no darkies, none. And he didn't. And that followed suit all the way up to Burns. Now, because blacks had their own what was called the Colored League, where Sam Langford and other great fighters of that era fought in that league and became champions. A lot of them fought each other quite a few times in that league. And but Jack Johnson held his own in that league. They had a thing called Battle Royale in the Colored League, where they would put fighters in the ring, a whole bunch of them, and the last man standing. They'd fight to the last guy stand with everybody in the ring. Yeah. And Jack Johnson was king of that. And Jack Johnson was the heavyweight champion of the Colored League at the time. And when Burns won the heavyweight championship of the world, he said that he was taking on all comers. And when he said that, Jack Johnson had took off and pursued him. Ken Burns is from Canada, but he traveled a lot in England and things like that. And Jack Johnson, when he heard that, he took off to England. He chased him around Europe, and then he finally caught up with him over in Europe.
Yeah.
And when he caught up with him over there in Australia, he taunted him, and he had spoke with the promoter at the time, and they finally decided to make the match in 1908. And at that match, it was something. It became a world spectacle because of Jack Johnson and the way he would taunt his opponents. Like Ali said, Ali got a lot of that, not just from the wrestler, but Jack Johnson would taunt his opponents like he did with Burns, talking to Burns as he was whooping him. He'd tie him up and say, "That's all you got, Tommy Burns." He'd hit him and say, "Come on, Tommy boy, come on, Tommy boy." And then the way that he knocked him out. Now, if you notice in the film, they cut the film. They stopped the film.
Yeah.
And the police basically stopped the fight, is because they couldn't take a black man whooping up on a white guy at the time. And they stopped it. And on the film, you can see where they stopped the fight. But anyway, after that, everything rang across the world that there was a new heavyweight champion of the world who was black, named Jack Johnson, the Galveston Giant. And because there was writers in the United States that were sitting at ringside that couldn't take it, they had typed messages on the teleprompter that went into news like New York Times, LA Times, and they said someone has to knock the smile off Jack Johnson's face, and we need a white hope that can do it. And the only one that they said, the writers were saying that the only one that could do it would be Jim Jeffries. And Jim Jeffries was a former heavyweight champion who was undefeated, and that was in retirement. And they went, the promoters, and talked to him, and got him together. If you lose so much weight at this time, we'll give you so much money, this and that, leading up to the fight. However, he made the weight, they promoted it, and it was just a whirlwind that was going on. But Jack Johnson did the same thing. He beat up on Jim Jeffries and knocked him out. And as a matter of fact, they wouldn't let that fight be shown at all.
20 years.
So those fights, yeah. that fight there is in the National Archives for preservation. To preserve that fight, because they wouldn't show it. And now the films are released, but they wouldn't show that fight at all. They couldn't stomach it.
That's to still you out. Go ahead.
Yeah. So as Jack Johnson was living bold, and when he climbed out of the ring, matter of fact, after winning that fight, there was a very rich race car man driver named Bernie Oldfield who challenged Jack Johnson to a duel to race him. Because, you know, Jack Johnson, when people were riding horse and buggy, he was driving fancy cars.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they would speak about Jack Johnson because he would get tickets at times for speeding. So Bernie Oldfield, when he climbed out of the ring with Jeffries, Bernie Oldfield was Jeffries' buddy, challenged him to a car race. So when he challenged him, Jack Johnson accepted the challenge. So they raced in Brooklyn, New York, at the racetrack up in Brooklyn, New York. And Jack Johnson lost, but he didn't lose by much. And he said that the only reason he lost was the way Bernie Oldfield was taking them turns, and that he would never take a turn that fast around the corners. And around the curve in Franklinton, North Carolina, is where he lost his life. His car hit a telephone pole in Franklinton, North Carolina, and that's how he died from a car crash.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, he was a great man. Ali always talked about him and Stephen Fletcher, right?
Yeah, well, Stephen Fletcher, when Ali was getting ready for the Liston fight, Stephen Fletcher came to Muhammad Ali and told him that Jack Johnson had a special punch, and it was called the Yanker punch, which is an uppercut, and how he used to utilize that anchor punch. And Stephen Fletcher was telling Ali that, and Ali talked about that a lot. And he said that after the fight, that he had used that Jack Johnson Yanker punch to win.
Stephen Fletcher
fight again.
Go ahead. Yeah, against go ahead. Sorry, against Ali used the anchor punch against Sonny Liston, right?
Yeah, yeah. That was up there in Lewiston, Maine.
Lewiston, yeah. It was Lewiston, Maine. Is that Miami?
No, that's north. It's far north in the United States you can go.
Okay.
Up by Canada.
Oh, that first fight was in Canada.
Near Canada. that's you know, Maine is right up close to Canada.
Oh, okay. I never knew that.
And Lewiston, Maine is not far from Canada.
Okay, that's
yeah. They fought in a ice skating ring up here. They took an ice skating ring and turned it into a boxing ring.
Cool. So see Stephen Fletcher, yeah. So what was his relation to Jack Johnson?
I don't know what his relationship was to Jack Johnson, because Stephen Fletcher was basically an entertainer, actress, entertainer, thing like that, and he was around him. So that's why he had came to Ali to tell him with Jack Johnson, who he was with, through it. Now, Jack Johnson, as you well know, you ever heard of the Cotton Club?
Yeah, that's all the celebrities are the black actors used to perform, but no black people were allowed to watch.
Yeah. Well, Jack Johnson owned that.
Jack Johnson owned the Cotton Club? Really?
Yeah, Jack Johnson owned it.
Wow.
And he sold it to the mobsters.
Oh, that was the Jack Johnson. He had the French name in it. It was called the Champion Cup, and he sold it to the mobsters, and that became the Cotton Club after, right? That's what you said.
Yeah, no, the Cotton Club is in New York. Jack Johnson owned a big hotel in Chicago.
Wow, he owned a hotel. Wow, I never knew that. He owned a hotel in Chicago.
Yeah, in what was known as Black Wall Street. Jack Johnson owned the first property in Black Wall Street.
Okay, yeah, Black Wall Street. Is that the one where they bombed it? They bombed Black Wall Street, yeah? It was doing successful.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's right.
Wow, man. Yeah,
Jack Johnson owned that. And plus he owned a big gym too, in his name in Chicago. But that hotel was how the government entrapped him for the Mann Act.
Oh, with you're talking about with Betty Schreiber. Is it Betty Schreiber? I think it's not Lucy Schreiber. That's her name. Lucy Schreiber, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And when Jack Johnson, and he spent a lot of time in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania,
Mm-hmm.
and his friend owned hotels in Pittsburgh. He was a big hotel owner, and he's the one that got Jack Johnson into owning hotels.
Oh man, I didn't know that, man. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why Jack Johnson went and purchased that hotel in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
However, the woman had called him and asked Jack Johnson, saying that she wanted to get from Pittsburgh to Chicago.
Mm.
And she was young, her and her mother, and that she didn't have no money. But the FBI, and we have the FBI files in the Jack Johnson exhibit. We got everything we're talking about. We got artifacts and things like that to back up what we're saying. She called and asked for some money. So when Jack Johnson went to pay for her ticket, the FBI was waiting, and they had created this law for Jack Johnson called the Mann Act. Was to take white women across state lines to do immoral things to them. And they arrested him. And when they arrested him, he went to court. And when he went to court, the FBI had got this street woman who was a prostitute, who was arrested many times and things like that, the government witness, to get on the stand and say that, basically Jack Johnson was a pimp and he was pimping and he used his hotel and stuff as a brothel house and all of that.
Oh.
So they convinced the jury that him paying for the ticket was a crime. And he took the white woman, which ended up being his wife, across state line to do immoral things to her. And that's when they found him guilty, and he was to serve 1 year and 1 day. And so he got out on bail. When he got out on bail, Jack Johnson, who had many times helped the Negro League out, and many Kansas City Royal baseball players, he put a lot of them on film to be the first ones to be on film. So Jack Johnson left the United States and fled as a fugitive and jumped his bail. And he went on a ship to Canada. Then from Canada, he went to England. And when he went to London, the Lords of London and all of that, he spent some time in London trying to get fights and trying to go into the clubs, the boxing clubs at the time, to prepare and get ready for fights. And the Lords of London wouldn't let him, because the Lords of London owned a lot of the clubs at the time. They wouldn't let him practice. So Jack Johnson, he stayed there for some time because his cash was getting low. He left. Then he went to Spain and France. When he went to Spain and France, he was doing things in the theater and things like that, wrestling and stuff like that to do money. He did exhibitions. He was getting paid. And over in Spain, he did some fights, some exhibitions over there. But the government was steadily after him at the time, picking at the bit for him to turn himself in, and that they said that they were going to give him a pardon. They would pardon him for this crime called the Mann Act. However, Jack Johnson said he would have never left if he would have felt that he was guilty, and he said he felt he wasn't guilty, so that's why he left. But anyway, the government talked him into going down to Cuba to fight a fight down there, and a fight they asked him to throw. And they told him, if you throw this fight, we will give you a pardon anyway. There's a lot of skepticism of whether he threw the fight or he just got plain knocked out. However, he lost down in Cuba, and the government never gave him the pardon, and so he took off to Mexico. When he was down in Mexico, he was getting homesick from his mother, because he took care of his mother real well. He paid her bills and all that, and she didn't have no money, or her cash was getting low, and he was getting wore down from not seeing his mother and his family, his people. So he did some exhibitions and stuff down there. He received money. He sent money to his mother to save her home and all of that. And then he decided, he contacted the FBI and them, that he was going to turn himself in. And that's when he turned himself in. And when he turned himself in, they had it all arranged. He walked across the line of Mexico into the United States. He turned himself in, and he was in prison. And when he was in prison, that's where he invented the monkey wrench, as they called it, where he invented some inventions and tools for his car.
Wow, man.
And also, yeah, he was inventor, Jack Johnson.
Good gosh.
We have one of the wrenches that he invented.
Yeah.
The patent numbers, all of that stuff, you know. You know, that some people say, well, that wrench was always already invented and things. He didn't invent nothing. Well, an invention, if you add a piece to anything and you get a patent for the add-on or whatever, you're still an inventor. And that's what Jack Johnson did when he was in prison. And what a lot of people don't know, why he was in prison in 1920, he wrote his own pardon.
He wrote his own pardon.
Yeah. He wrote his own pardon is that he had sent letters to Woodrow Wilson, who was president at the time and attorney general in 1920. And when he wrote these letters, Woodrow Wilson was going to give him the pardon. And the warden of the prison said that Jack Johnson was a model prisoner. You know, he didn't cause no, he got along very well. Matter of fact, he fought and raised money in prison. And that he was a role model prisoner, and stuff like that, they had said. So they cut his time down from that 1 year and a day. But he did write his pardon, and what they say in law is once the wheels of motions of legal juggle get spinning, the twists and turns and how it ends up, no one never knows.
Yes.
So, however, last May, Donald Trump, President of the United States, gave Jack Johnson a pardon. But Donald Trump's a boxing guy too, so we can understand that.
Yeah. I saw the presentation. It was Lennox Lewis, Deontay Wilder, and Don King, obviously, was there, and obviously Jack Johnson's niece, the one that you're obviously involved in, and to get the pardon for that, for something, and it was, the bill was put there many times. Bill Clinton, I believe, President Obama, because Donald Trump's a boxing guy. Is that the reason why you felt
Well, it was started way before that. It goes back to Jack Johnson. It just took people to press it. The president, Jose Suleiman, at the time when he was living, and Don pressed the issue, and I have all those letters that he wrote to Bush, and Don, who was supporting Bush at the time, he got it going, along with Mike Tyson, with Senator Reid and John McCain, bring it through, and they got the bill passed for the pardon to happen during Clinton's time. but they wouldn't sign it.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't sign the bill. You know, Congress and all that had already passed it through legislature because Jack Johnson had already started.
Mm-hmm.
In 1920, the letter that he wrote to Woodrow Wilson.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So all they had to do was just connect some other dots, and it will happen. But you know, the president, Jose Suleiman, bless his heart, and Mauricio Suleiman, his son, and Jill Diamond. Jill Diamond, who's the head of the WBC Cares program, all of us pushed hard to make this happen. I pushed hard with Senator G.K. Butterfield, who was the head of the Black Caucus at the time in Washington, and Bobby Richardson, who is a U.S. Representative in the state of North Carolina. She pushed to Butterfield, and she supported the project early. So did Butterfield early on, before Trump was in office. And also now Bobby Richardson is vice chair of the Democratic Party in the state of North Carolina now. So, you know, all of us worked hard and diligently for that to come and happen. And at the pardon, Donald Trump did talk about the Black Caucus, how they supported it. So it was a combined effort for all of us that kept on pushing. You know, it was something that needed to get done, and you have to push from all different angles. And your magic lies with your people ties, and I'm tied in with a lot of people, so we can create something magical and mystical. So, and that's what happened. It's not about, you know, who was there at the time, as long as it got done. And our representatives, Mauricio Suleiman, the president of the WBC, I'm proud to be an ambassador for them. They stand up for the people and by the people. I mean, that was a stand-up move that he did to make it happen. And he followed right in his father's footsteps. And I'm just happy to be associated with the WBC.
Absolutely. No, this a long trail, and you know that the history of what you've laid out is the history you laid out of Jack Johnson and his ring, and now he's got the pardon. What does that mean for obviously his family? But what does it mean in the legacy of how people see him? Now you can say he was, even though he did go to jail, but he was wrongly convicted. Is there any compensation towards the Johnson family for being incarcerated wrongly, or the compensation is now being pardoned, or what would you say?
Well, you have to understand that you know, for a long time, boxing historians wrote that he didn't have no other family. Jack Johnson wrote his own bio, his own book. Jack Johnson wrote his own training books that we have. So for a long time, you know, the wife who had basically his will, because when he got in an accident in North Carolina, she had the rights in his will to move his body from North Carolina to Chicago. And the companion, who was his hired driver that was with him, he was the one talking to her, and he was the one who helped her move the body from North Carolina to Chicago, where the funeral was held. And Jack Johnson has had many plots of things in the cemetery. So Linda Haywood, who is a relative of Jack Johnson, his great niece, she has a lot of stuff about all of that when she came out. You know, and she was there. And her mother just recently died, who was Jack Johnson's niece. It's going on 3 weeks, maybe a month ago now.
Well, the niece died?
Yeah, Jack Johnson's niece that was living.
The one who was at the pardon, she died?
88. And no, that's his great niece.
Oh,
his niece, who was with Senator McCain and them when they were pushing it.
Oh,
she was the one sitting in the wheelchair.
Oh, that. Oh, yeah, yeah, yes.
She
Yes.
died at 88. Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, yeah. Yo, it's just but it's you know the thing, his legacy. When I sit back and look at it, and Ali had the same sort of thing, and I was saying to the same thing. That Man Act, they're using that Man Act and a lot of other people that they cross line. That law doesn't really. It's for it's for people being morally, but it didn't really apply to Jack Johnson. And I was wondering how they got away with it. But when you have I think it was all white juries and stuff like that, very biased and prejudiced. That's how they was able to convict him, right?
Yeah, that's how it was. And the woman that testified against him.
Yeah.
That's how they were to nail a coffin home.
Yeah.
That he was a pimp and all that. But that's the kind of racial things that they thought about black men always nowadays. Like they think all black men are drug pushers.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So back then the stereotype that they were pimps and running women and all of that kind of stuff. So
yes,
that was the sign at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've covered you, Jack Johnson. Obviously, your history is long and vast. Let's talk about obviously two of the most notable ones. Yeah, first I'll leave the best one to the Tim Austin. There's Cincinnati kid. Yeah, the first Cincinnati kid, obviously with Aaron Pryor. So Cincinnati's with you, and you're fighting Rafael. Your fight with Rafael Marquez. What? Because I think you were at that time. You was on the verge. I think you was gonna fight Barrera, move up. What happened in that fight? And consequently, what happened with your relationship with Tim Austin? I know he doesn't really talk much on social media, and I've heard you talk about it. So this is like the first kind of, for me anyway, listening to your thing, what went wrong, and because Tim Austin could have been, to me, obviously, I think he had 15 defenses of the super bantamweight title, the bantamweight title. What went wrong? That guy, he should have been a bigger star, and there were so many big names that he could have fought. What happened with that?
Well, you got to understand something about Tim Austin was a 1992 bronze medal Olympic winner.
Yeah.
Right. And when he won the bronze medal, when he was in that fight, he got thumbed in the eye, and they thought Tim Austin quit because he had turned his back.
Which fight? The Rafael Marquez fight? He got thumbed in the eye?
No. When he fought for the bronze medal.
Okay, the bronze medal. What was that? 1992?
Yeah, how he got the bronze, and they thought he quit.
Okay.
So a lot of people didn't want to do nothing with him. But however, he came and signed with Carl King and Don King at the time when nobody else wanted to sign him when he was coming out of the Olympics. And we got him. We developed him. But however, the big fights with Tim. Matter of fact, let me tell you this: when you talk about hearts, nuts, and guts, Tim Austin, when he was fighting Mobile Batili from South Africa, who everybody thought was the premier bantamweight champion at the time.
Yes, I saw that fight. It was violent.
Tim Austin. Yeah, he got his jaw broken in the first round.
Yeah, that he went
round.
Yeah, he went on to put another guy in the coma. He put Thingy Hunter from England. Yeah, you put him in a coma. That guy never fought again. Go ahead. Because that for anyone listening, that fight right there, Tim Austin, and also the fight after, because he got the belt of Thingy Hunter. He beat Junior Jones. I can't remember his name now. Thingy Hunter.
That's it.
Yeah. But go ahead. Tell us the story. Go ahead. Sorry, go.
And he fought 8 rounds with a broken jaw to knock Mobile Batili out.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people may not know, his jaw was broken 2 places. And Tim Austin has a plate, 2 plates in his chin.
Good gosh.
From that, and he was able to fight like that. His jaw stayed wired for 1 year after he won the title.
He came to England. And, y'all came to England.
Yeah,
now.
he fought Pat Cordell.
Yeah, that's right.
In Hull.
Yeah, in Hull. That's England. Right. Yeah.
And where most people it was career ending, and the doctor, matter of fact, said if it would have broke a little bit more it wouldn't have been enough to put the screws and stuff like that. It would have been career ending. Well, it was a blessing for Tim to fight long and on that level, to be pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So when he won the title, Don King went on a signing campaign to get bantamweights, so they can make a unification bout for bantamweight. He signed Johnny Tapia. So Johnny Tapia signed with Don King, but they were trying to make the match with Tim Austin and Johnny Tapia.
Yeah,
and Johnny Tapia stated that Nana Canadu had the WBA title, and they said, "We'll match Tapia with Nana Canadu first, and then Tim Austin and Johnny Tapia will be matched up for the unification fight." However, once Johnny Tapia beat Nana Canadu, he said he wasn't fighting that bad dude Tim Austin, not that hard-hitting southpaw. He refused to fight him. And Barrera and all of them follow suits. They wouldn't fight Tim. And Tim was outgrowing the bantamweight division, which was 118 pounds, where he stayed at that weight for 10 years.
Yeah. They were saying he was big at the weight. The guy we was talking about, by the way, was Paul Ingle. That's what it was. Paul Ingle. He lost to Magula.
Tim tried to what you call we tried to get fights. Matter of fact, Manny Pacquiao wouldn't fight Tim. They offered Manny Pacquiao when he was featherweight to fight Tim Austin. He moved up out of that weight class, so he wouldn't have to fight him. True fact. True fact. But you know, no excuses. When he fought Marquez, you know, he was at that borderline when fighters are struggling to make weight and things like that. But that's no excuses. He was winning the fight. He had Marquez almost out from body shots, and Marquez told Tim after the fight that you hit me so hard to my stomach. He said, I was just about to give up. And he threw a straight right hand down the pipe and caught Tim smack dead on the money. Right where all of that stuff that he had. And they caught him, and he got up. He got knocked outside the ring. He got up. And when he went, instead of taking his time getting himself together, he got mad. And he took off running at Marquez to try to knock him out. And Marquez hit him with a couple other punches, and they stopped the fight. So that's how. Yeah. On the scorecard, Tim Austin was winning every round.
Yeah, you was winning every round. I remember that. I mean, I saw that fight, and at that time.
But that's what makes boxing on this level great. It's the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And Tim Austin was in the pound-for-pound list for a long time. And he was a long-reigning bantamweight champion, and bar none, his destiny is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, I think so. I believe so as well. I know he's not really active on social media, but he's long reign of doing it, because I remember over here in the UK, we was really eyeing him. You know, he came over here and obviously beat Pacquiao, and obviously you beat guys and like Ali. When you beat in the UK, and you know, you came over very respectful. A lot of these fights were shown over here in the UK all the time. They were shown everywhere. Yeah, definitely, I believe that he should be in the Hall of Fame. And you know, I like some other guys in there. Obviously, Rafael Marquez went on to fight Israel Vasquez, and Israel Vasquez went on to lose one of his eyes later in that war. They had like 4 fights already right there. But Tim Austin, one of the great fighters at the time. So tell me something, yeah. Obviously, you're affiliated with Don King at the time. Obviously, with Jack Johnson. Obviously, to do with pardon. What do you think? What's your take on Al Heyman as another guy? Obviously, he doesn't come in the media as he was as Don King. What's your take on Al Heyman and what you think he's doing for boxing?
Well, my take on Al Heyman, he brought a lot of money into the game. But you know, bringing money in the game and the stain of the game and developing superstars is a whole together different thing. One thing, they can say whatever thing they want about Don King. Everything he touched turned great, and everything that he touched turned to gold.
Mm-hmm.
And they can say whatever they want. Muhammad Ali told me a long time ago when I was young, he said, stick with Don King, he'll make you rich. He said, but the other guys, they're not into that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Muhammad Ali was with Bob Arum. He left Bob Arum to get with Don King.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Tyson, Jim Jacobs, and all them, they bring Mike Tyson to Don King. That stuff that Don King stole Mike Tyson, he didn't have to steal him. Jim Jacobs and Bill Caton bring Mike Tyson to Don King. Julio Cesar Chavez, Tito Trinidad. When you won big money and big fights, you had to come through Don King. And, you know, you're talking about Frank Bruno with Tim Witherspoon in Wembley Stadium. Man, you know, the list is long, fine, but distinguished. Don King is something unique that only comes around every once in a while. But I tell you what, Eddie Hearns from England is doing a yeoman job, boy. He's his father was good at it. His father was good at what he done, and his son is biting at the bit, man. Let me tell you, anytime you bring $1 billion into the game, and Anthony Joshua, I told them this when he was young and upcoming, Anthony Joshua was something special. And the only way he's going to get beat if he beats himself, like I told Mike Tyson. You have to have compassion and love for who you are and what you do. And as long as he continues to train hard and keep his eye on the sparrow as a fighter and wants to fight and win, he'll be on that top of that mountain for a while, because he is something special. He has things that you can't teach in boxing when they talk about nuts and guts. Anytime you can get up off the deck after getting hit with a tremendous shot against Klitschko, who's one of the greatest finishers of all times in the heavyweight division, to get up off the deck and then knock him out to win the heavyweight championship of the world, he's something special. And I say this and I mean this, the only way he gets beat if he beats himself or he don't prepare.
Absolutely.
He's something special.
So
he's something, and not only that, Anthony Joshua is a credit to the game, the game of boxing. He carries himself with D class, and that's what the heavyweight division has been missing for a long time. He has appeal with the English people. The English people love him. They care about him. They care what he does and all of that. That's things that you can't teach. That's the bigger game to set his life up for after the game, like Muhammad Ali does. He can talk. He carries himself. He looks well. He don't mind going to events, handshaking with people, kings and queens. You know, that's what it's all about, and try to uplift other people. And the reason why I said, you know, Eddie Hearns, he's just taken Anthony Joshua and the other fighters that he had, but he expanded it to uplift people, you know, uplift guys in little boxing clubs that may not have the opportunity. You give them a shot to fight on the undercard of a big fight, a 10-round, an 8-round fight. That's what it's all about. He bring money into the game, but he's giving guys an opportunity to practice his trade. That's what Don King did. Don King bring opportunities to the ones that were downtrodden and left out, the one kicked to the side, and gave opportunities to people that wouldn't ordinarily get the opportunity. You know what I mean? Like Frankie Randall, when he beat Julio Cesar Chavez, Don King gave him an opportunity. And we rose to the occasion to defeat, pound for pound, one of the best fighters in the world that night at the opening of the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada. So, and this is what Eddie Hearns is attempting to do, but I love him, man, you know, for his effort that, you know, boxing's hard on the top level because you got movers and shakers and the whisperers and this and that, and they're always fighting at the bit to steal your talent. But Eddie Hearns is he's doing a yeoman job in keeping talent, and he's not as scared. He knows what he has, and he's taking his show on the road. And it's not despite England. All he's saying, hey, look, we're going to take a show on the road, bring Anthony Joshua to America, let him make a splash here, and then we'll bring him back. You know, they have something, England has something special. And Eddie Hearn said, well, let's share it with the world because it's only going to make England a much more better place for boxing. It ain't like he don't live here, he don't come, we come back here. Well, it'll be better. More things will come back to England because we have this this fine athlete that needs to be showcased to show what England has in athletes. You know what I mean? In boxers and championships. You know, that's something special, man. Bless his heart. You know, and that fight that's up in Madison Square Garden with Baby Miller, you know, if he can do it in New York, in the Garden, big time, it sends an echo with that media around the world, and Eddie Hearns is making all the right steps with that. A lot of jealous people want him, but bless him. He's young and talented and what he's doing, you know, and I know the things that come along with, personally, I know when you're young and talented and you have a will to do things and you're talented and good at what you do, a lot of criticism comes with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Eddie Hearns is handling it fine, though. He's handling it good. He's bright, intelligent, and he learned the game.
Absolutely.
If he didn't learn the game, he wouldn't have the heavyweight champion of the world and these other champions that he has. And he has White too is a good fighter. So he done built himself up, man.
Dillian White, yeah. Well, Don King done really good at that, controlling the heavyweight division, and we had some great fights. The only fight we would have loved to see was Riddick Bowe versus Lennox Lewis and that kind of thing at that time. But other than that, Don had all the fights there. They were all there. Obviously, we're gonna get about Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson, but let's talk about Deontay Wilder. What's your take on Deontay Wilder? You're American champion. That has won the belt. He had the WBC belt.
Well, Deontay Wilder's a terrific puncher. You know, he's a guy that can hit you with one shot, call lights out. So with that, but he's aging. And what Deontay Wilder needs is a media campaign so more people can get to know who he is. He's not a draw. You know, they have to do something, Al Heyman, and you got to spend some money. You can't make all the money off the top. And like I said before, you know, I like Deontay Wilder, but however, how do you turn down $100 million? I don't know.
Oh, recently, yeah.
I don't know, bro. I don't know what school of thought he gets or whatever, but I'm gonna tell you, like Muhammad Ali told me. He said, when people bring in millions and millions of dollars, he said you push, you shove as far as you can to get more. He said, but when it comes down to it, bro, he said you grab that pen quick, fast, in a hurry. 100 million is 100 million, and if you were in Fortune 500 company, if you get a $100 million deal, man, your company's doing awful good. And $100 million that he turned down, oh man.
Well,
how do you turn down $100 million?
I said the same thing, but I think it was like continuous on the fights. It was like certain fights leading to things.
It don't matter. He's still making more. I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna ask you.
Yeah, go ahead.
If it amounts to 3 fights at $30 million a fight,
yeah.
Do you think Mike Tyson, Deontay Wilder is a Mike Tyson or Evander Holyfield?
Nah, he's not that. He's not like that. They're different.
Is he a Lennox Lewis? Is he a Lennox Lewis?
No, he's not that. No, he's not. I have to be honest.
All right. All right. Now, all right. Somebody offers you $30 million a fight, which is going to amount, it's a little bit over to 3 fights, mounting up to $30 million.
Yeah.
You grab that pen quick, fast, in a hurry before he comes to his senses and say, look, man, I'm crazy. Why am I giving this dude all this money? Because you got to remember, when you get a $100 million deal like that on the table, and they say this is the deal, you know what I mean? Take it or leave it. When you come back, it don't go up.
Yeah. But you know what? Listen to this one. Let me go to this one.
It don't go on.
Nah.
It goes down.
All right, what's this one? What about Manny Pacquiao and Floyd, right? The first time the fight was offered, it would probably did like 30 or 25. When it ended, even though they cruised the end, they got like 100 mil. Like Floyd got 100 mil. 100 mil on one fight. And he undefeated. See? Okay, good.
Floyd Mayweather's just king of pay-per-view, man.
Yeah.
They don't know him the money, man.
Yo, really?
Nothing. But Floyd Mayweather's the type of person. He learned from OJT on the job training.
Yeah.
And one thing about Floyd Mayweather, he listens.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best thing about Floyd Mayweather. He listens and he follows and he knows how to promote himself.
Mm-hmm.
Say what they want about Floyd. Floyd knows how to promote himself. Mm-hmm. And he does a great job at it. Mm-hmm. And that's why he's the money man. Mm-hmm.
The money man, that's right.
He is the money man. With them pay-per-view sales, he's king. That money, they ain't topping that. Nobody top the sales that until they knock themselves down. He's still the king, baby.
Money
weather.
But listen,
he's the king.
But listen to this, right? But the guy behind him was Al Heyman. Al Heyman was the one advising him behind it. Al Heyman made sure.
You think so?
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. You told me then.
You think so?
What?
You think so?
Al Heyman was Al Heyman.
Look.
That's what I heard.
Look. Al Heyman.
Yeah.
With all that money he got. He ain't made no other great one.
What, money?
Yeah. He didn't make no other great fighter. No other great pay-per-view fighter. You know what I mean? Like when you know what you're doing, like Don did with Ali.
Yeah.
He came back and did it time after time after time after time. Al Heyman hasn't done that. He hasn't done that. So somebody was advising Floyd Mayweather that knew what they were doing. Mm-hmm. And he was following suit.
I think he's trying to do that with Deontay Wilder by Deontay Wilder not accepting the money. They're thinking of maybe later on down the line that the fight's going to be bigger and make more money.
Down the line, you got each fighter's different.
Okay.
You can't look at the same fighter. Deontay Wilder is an old heavyweight. How old's Deontay Wilder?
You what?
Deontay Wilder's over 34, ain't he?
Let me check. Is he over? Nah, he ain't over 34 now.
No. Yeah, yes he is.
Nah, he ain't that old.
Yeah.
Wilder,
yes, he is.
Wilder, damn, I didn't know he was that old. Really?
Yeah. So he there's a day.
He's 33. Yeah, you're right. He's 33. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you get 33.
So time, they keep letting time go on and on. Which is a clever move with Eddie Hearns and them. Mm-hmm. The older you get, the more tougher it is for fighter to perform at that age. Because one night you just don't have it. Mm-hmm. Not much like a younger man. A younger man can do things in his body recover faster.
Yes.
The older you get, the more difficult it is. And with a guy that can punch like that, he ain't gonna never lose that punch, but you let it go and you'll weigh the different things out.
Yeah, but
and hopefully they can get him where he's frustrated in the mind from negotiation and all this money talk just eat him up.
But I agree with you. That's true. But Anthony Joshua's 29. He ain't young either. He ain't young either now.
Well, he's in the prime stage of his life. He's it, baby. Hey, look, Anthony Joshua's it, baby. It don't get no better than that.
I'm just saying, let me ask you a question now. In terms of obviously Don is up there with Tex Rickard and all the greatest promoters ever left. Eddie Hearn is making his way, but Don is still the standard bearer as weight promotion. Who else do you know in the organization, especially Don's organization? It was so powerful on TV. Had Don King Vision. They they're obviously on HBO shows. Where is that gone in America? Is it only going to be about Heyman? And where is I'm not saying you're in promotion, obviously, but that kind of thing where the fighters, they're for African American fighters, but obviously for fighters who don't, like you said with Tim Austin, who other fighters shun and don't want to pick up. Where is that gone? Because I know most of them go to Al Heyman, but where is that gone in terms of where Don is? Because in terms of the Don's biggest contribution in the sports.
Well, there was all of us that were around that were doing it. They may have went to other. The key people are no longer doing it.
Okay.
On that stage that were with Don.
Mm-hmm.
To do that, and Eddie Hearns is going to find out what all of us found out from that long stretch. It just burns you out.
Okay.
You really get burned out, man, because it's like you can't stay in high gear all the time. And to do fights and do it on that level often and frequently, you have to be in a high gear in order to do it well.
Mm-hmm.
And we did it. It's stressful, man.
Mm.
It's a stressful thing. So he's going to find out, but right now he's doing a yeoman's job, bro. He out there doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I love him to death.
Yeah.
For him taking the risk, his father, he got a great father.
Yeah.
He's doing good. He got a great team with Matchball. I'm hats off for him, man.
Yeah.
And with Al Heyman, we're going to see if he can take some heed and use some of the money or get new money that he got in order to market these guys that he has.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You got to do some marketing. You got to spend some money on marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing about England, they got the boxing books, and them English writers write very well. They keep them in the news.
Yes.
In the United States, where you used to find boxing, some boxing or people in the newspapers, you hardly ever see that.
I find
ESPN with Bob Brown, they're attempting to do that.
Mm.
But mostly all the good writers in the U.S. they don't write anymore. They don't write like that.
No, but I find as well. I found a lot of the times when it comes to American writers. Let's talk about a fight in particular, and then I'll give you two examples, right? So you had Corey Spinks, right, fighting for the undisputed title versus Ricardo Mayorga, right? So I watched it in the UK, right? I'm watching the UK with Adam Smith, and I believe it was another guy, it was a Scottish guy there, right? So they're doing a commentary on the fight, and they're saying Corey Spinks is putting a marvelous boxing display against a very aggressive brawler, and it was an excellent display of pugilism, and he won the fight. That's the thing. Then I go over now, and I'm watching the HBO broadcast. They're saying, oh, he's running, he ain't got no power, this, that, the other. And this is how in America, how the American athletes being betrayed. But in Europe, over here in the UK, no, we have like ultimate respect for, especially me and Corey Spinks, Tim Austin over here. This is why, like, obviously Tim Austin and most of the American guys, Tim Witherspoon, he lives over here, right? He was your fighter. He lives over here because when he came over Frank Bruno, right, you can talk about, he couldn't believe how much people love him over here because the American athlete over here with the unbiased commentary from the UK pundits are being fair in terms of their portrayal of the American athlete. Unlike America, where I feel like in America, the portrayal of the black athlete is unfair. It's very unfair. Well, you talk on that.
Yeah, they're very hypercritical.
Yeah.
And what happens was a lot of these guys sitting on the anchor desk of TV in the United States, a lot of them are trying to make themselves stars.
Okay.
Instead of just doing their job, and you'll become a star by what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So they want to create some type of controversy.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? And hope that the controversy that they create propels themselves, not the athlete themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you another one who talks a lot of negative stuff, Teddy Atlas.
Yeah, he does over Mike Tyson. He said the other day.
Yeah, the lies he told on me, Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just crazy.
Yeah.
And for these networks to let him, Larry Merchant's the same way.
Yes.
Larry Merchant, he said on that HBO, and would be so negative. How are you going to say all of this? Well, if he's this bad, this and that, why is he in the ring on the network?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you applaud Mayweather when Mayweather said to him, Larry Merchant don't know shit about boxing, HBO need to fire him? You.
well, he said what was on his mind, and it wasn't too long after that
they sacked him.
Mayweather had some type of influence.
Yeah.
Not only did they fire him, they shut the network down.
Yeah. Well, hey, the network was bad though.
But Don King and Seth Abraham was the one who brought really built HBO boxing.
Yes, with Mike Tyson. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Well, way before Mike Tyson with Ali and Larry Holmes and them. Yeah, Don King and Seth Abraham. They used to talk every day.
Okay.
Him and
who's Seth Abraham for the UK? Because over here we don't know who is Seth Abraham. Is he still involved in HBO? Who's Seth Abrahams?
No, Seth Abraham was he was the president of HBO Sports.
Okay, go ahead.
In programming, yeah. Seth Abraham, he basically got HBO up off the ground. Seth did. Seth Abraham was a very studious guy when it came to television. And one thing about Seth Abraham, his relationship with Don King, he stuck to TV. He worked the TV in what he did with TV in. These TV guys now, they want to play matchmakers and stuff like that instead of leaving it to the boxing people. That's their job, that's their career. Let them do the matching. Bring a match, and we'll tell you if we're going to pay for it or not. They don't do that. They want to say who they want, what they want, how they're going to pay them, and they become what are in the boxing business instead of in the TV business. And that's another problem that's in the United States. And instead of them doing the TV job of marketing this athlete, find out, marketing ways that they can market this athlete. Once somebody say this is the guy, he can fight or whatever, market him, make him known. They don't do that. They want to do all the boxing stuff, and that's a problem. Wow. But look, bro, I have to close, man.
Hey, before you go, I know you have to close. I forgot the Mike Tyson. Obviously that's the last thing. That's the last thing. Mike Tyson. You're in the corner. You're in Japan. You're having a great time. Sumo wrestling, everything. You knock out TNT Tubble before, but then you come in and you got Buster Douglas. What went wrong in your point of view, and what would you have changed if it was another scenario? Go ahead, and that we're closing that.
Some things you can't change. That was designed by God for it to happen to Mike Tyson. Nothing happens in a man's life, whether good or bad, comes through by God. It's all a test, and he was being tested far beyond that. It's been said many times over and over, is that plain and simple. When you fail to prepare, you prepare for failure. It goes like that, and that's what happened. Plain and simple.
Okay, yeah, that's it, man. Hey, listen, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I'd love to talk. I want to talk. Love to talk to you again. And you have given enough time as well in terms of obviously the American athlete and your interest, and obviously tell people how they can find you on social media if they want to follow you or contact you.
Well, every Saturday on blogtalkradio.com/The World Boxing Review, we do a radio show every week.
Okay.
Myself and Bob Murray, who's a radio aficionado, and Henry Haskop, who's a boxing historian, International Boxing Hall of Fame, president of New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame, Ring 1, Ring 2, all of that. He's on the show. And Tony Treen, who is a boxing historian, all of us. So we deal with the past, the present, and the future stars. So we have guys who just starting out, the amateur fighters we bring on the show, former champions, legend tales. We do it all. So it's on every week, and that's where you can find. You can go to www.theworldboxingreviewradioshow.com and listen to the shows.
I will do, man. Hey, Aaron Snow, thank you very much for talking to us over in the UK, and we look forward to watching your show, and hopefully I'll get an interview at some time in the future. Thanks very much.
All right, thank you, brother.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you, bro.
You too, Chef. Right. Okay, bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye. So that was Aaron Snow, people. Listen, rare get interview Aaron Snow. He very instrumental in the corner after the whole thing with Mike Tyson and giving his perspective. That's what you kind of want in boxing as well, to get your perspective. This guy. Yeah, very influential in boxing. And yeah, man, hope you guys appreciate the interview. I can see a lot of people obviously in the comment section as well. You keep commenting, like the video. Aaron Snow, the man in the corner with Mike Tyson, with Don King, Ali, Jack Johnson, affiliating boxing. He gave his take. Hope you guys enjoyed the podcast, the interview. And yeah, man, I'll catch you guys on another one, another interview. Take care. Peace.